What's the risk for higher education companies when it comes to global engagement success? There's a lot of resources that have to be put in. There's a lot of dedication. There's a lot of coordination. Why is it so important? And why are the stakes high for higher education companies to be focusing versus not focusing on global engagement?
Mhm. Well, I mean, we live in a globalized world. I think that's no secret at this point. And students that are coming into young adults that are entering higher education at this point have lived their whole lives being exposed to the globalized world through social media, through the internet. So they've had all of this exposure. But at the same time, a lot of people still live in a bubble. They think because I've seen stuff, because I've heard stuff, I know things and I've been exposed to it. And the purpose of going into higher education, I think, is to be able to live those experiences. And that is getting harder and harder, I think, to draw people in because they think they're already getting some of that through the internet, through social media. And so I think that's one in and of itself a challenge for higher education institutions to jump that barrier and show the value of what living those experiences is going to do for students. On top of the fact, there's just less young adults going to college at this point in time. So there is a higher competitiveness for recruitment and admissions in that general area. But also, I think one challenge for higher education institutions is so much focus has been put on developing these global education initiatives. So institutions are like, we have to do this. Let's start checking off these boxes. And then what they realize is they're checking off boxes and they're not getting the results that they want for students that are being engaged or students that are studying abroad. When you're looking at the theory behind what you're doing, everyone's saying, oh, well, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Why are my students still not as engaged or why are my recruitment numbers low? I think a part of that has, again, to do with the internet and social media. There's a lot of what I feel can be inorganic engagement with students. You think you're checking them off, you're offering the workshops, and yet nobody's coming to the workshops. And so I think it takes extra action on the part of the institutions to have professionals in those roles that understand the students and know how to connect with them on an organic level. That's not just, I'm going to send you emails because we know students don't always read their emails, or I'm going to offer these workshops and people don't come to the workshops. But how do you develop a relationship with those students so that they can live the experience of being globally engaged versus just saying I did something to fill out a certificate, but not really going and experiencing those lifestyle choices. So I think that in and of itself is something I've noticed in institutions where schools may think that they're doing something for students, but they're not getting the results they want. And I think it ultimately comes down to they're not making the right connection organically with the students so that they can feel connected with the content of what they're trying to distribute.